You are now listening to Pull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. This is episode number 49. I can't fucking believe it. We're almost to 50, half a frickin' century. It's unbelievable there, Bobby. It's I don't even know what to say on it, but we have a very special show because guess who is back? And it is the big cat. It is the Tiger Woods. And then we also have the Tiger Woods of the Korn Ferry Tour from a caddy status. And we've got Daniel Gregory, who, Bobby, you know him well because he happens to be your kid. He is your offspring. He came from your sperm. So that is fantastic.
Well.
Pleasure to be on the show.
Well,
coming in strong and quick on this episode here. Tiger Woods got me all pumped up, and so does our special guest, Daniel Gregory. So we'll jump into a few things here. We're obviously going to have a question and answer session with Daniel. We're also going to go into the week in review with Matt and Bobby. That's where Bobby and I get to catch up a little bit on our weeks. We actually got to meet in person there at the Waste Management Open, which was quite nice.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it was. I realized how tall Bobby really is, and we will ask you, Daniel, how tall you are too. But hang on to that answer. We also have the Waste Management Open recap, which is the People's Open. I can't wait to get into that because there is a lot of topics and a lot of things, a lot of hot takes in there. We also have the upcoming Genesis Invitational at Riviera. A little nostalgic, the big cat being back at where he had his first pro tournament. So Bobby's going to give us an update there. Jesus, this is a mouthful tonight. Full swing, first episode on Netflix. Did you get a chance? Oh, you watched it. Okay. Well, Bobby, don't ruin it for the audience here. I mean, we got to recap it. We got to talk about,
I didn't say anything.
Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth episode. But the whole thing comes out tomorrow. So February 15th, which today is Valentine's Day. So hopefully you guys sent your lady some flowers and maybe a little something extra like a candle, Bobby. Then we've got the latest on LIV Golf. And boy, do we have a show for you guys tonight. So first off, without further ado, we have the Korn Ferry superstar caddy and son of Pull Hook Golf's host and PGA Tour caddy himself, Bobby Brown. We've got your son, Mr. Daniel Gregory, on the show. Now, let me go into a little something here there, Daniel, before we start asking you some questions here. And we're going to start off with a couple softballs, and then we'll start to get into it a little bit, Let it start to flow. So cheers to you over there. I've got Bushwood Spirits here, which, man, gosh.
I got Opus 1,
Hey, it happens.
What?
Bobby's got the smart
You're fucking... You just hit a lick for 20 grand and the motherfucker's buying Opus 1. I don't get it. No, you're not kidding. I know how you
I didn't shun him at all for that, Bobby. Not at all.
That's my job.
You got to save money where you can sometimes.
I thought we had a deal that I was raising my kids from the mistakes I made in life, and this one is obviously not paying attention. I hope that is $2 Chuck.
It is scary to look at the two of you and see that resemblance. It is terrifying, except one has a mustache.
I'm a tough parent. Ask Dan, he'll tell you I'm a tough parent. I've mellowed out. I've mellowed out the last 2 weeks.
Here's the bio for Mr. Daniel Gregory. We've got a 5-time winner and recent winner on the Korn Ferry Tour down in Panama with Pearson Coody, who he currently caddies for. So 2 wins came with Davis Riley, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, 1 with Sung Jae, and now 2 with Pearson Coody. Is that right, Daniel?
That is right. Yeah.
Wow. And you guys, by the way, I don't know if you guys realize the type of sports history that you two are making right now, but father and son in the same sport doing the same active job there. So we're looking at golf. You got a couple tour winners, father and son. So you got old Tom Morris, you got young Tom Morris. Some people say young Tom Morris was the better player. I don't know. Jay Haas and Bill Haas, for sure. Bill Haas was No, Jay was a pretty solid player.
Yes.
You got Craig Stadler and Kevin Stadler. Now,
Mm-hmm.
moving out of golf into football, we've got Archie Manning, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. So this is where you guys all stack up against. Baseball, we've got Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonds. We've got Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. By the way, both of those, the kid was better than the dad. So I think you see a theme going on here. But then we've got hockey. You can't leave out the Canadians. We got Gordy and Mark Howe. And then we've got Bobby and Brett Hull. So you guys are now the caddy duo of father son. I would love to at some point see you guys in a pairing together. I mean, that would just be a dynamic and a half. You better believe that no matter where it is,
one flag stick.
No matter where it would be in the world,
I'm not getting one of your bunkers.
Perfect.
Did you know? Special side note: I think Daniel has a new roommate out there, but Joe LaCava, who caddies for Tiger, he just started caddying on the Korn Ferry tour. I ran into Joe. Okay. I ran into Joe yesterday. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, to tell you the truth. I mean,
there's another duo.
Yeah.
So you guys are in special company there. I mean, those names are solid. But let's get into you, Daniel, your origin story. Tell us, how did you get involved in caddying? And I'm sure it had nothing to do with the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, I played in college. Obviously, I traveled with my dad ever since the 7th grade, and played in college. I really wasn't that good. I was more of like a roster guy. And after college, moved back home to California, and my dad randomly called me one day and was like, "Hey, I know you're not doing anything. Do you want to go work 1 week for Grayson Murray?" I thought about it, and he's like, "Well, what do you have to lose?" I'm like, "Oh, that's a good point." So that 1 week turned into 4 weeks. That 4 weeks turned into working for someone else. And then boom, 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 here I am. And now looking back on it, it's like, I don't think there's anything else I was supposed to do in my life besides this. I kind of like always got groomed into being a caddying without even knowing it, so it's very, very special. And I feel very honored and privileged to be in the position I'm in because of my dad. So yeah.
Wow, Bobby, there's a lot of credit being thrown your way.
I'm getting a little crying on us. That's the nicest thing he said to me.
Oh, boy. You're right.
Love that. So now you're currently caddying for Pearson Cody. And tell us a little bit about that relationship, because you guys have now won 2 in a short amount of time, I believe.
Yeah, and I want to say in 10 events, 11 events, we've won twice. He's unreal. He's not only a great player, but even a better kid. I've never been around such a young player that is so mature. Like, just even after a bad shot or whatever it is, he is as cool as can be. And shout out to his parents for raising not only him, but his twin brother too, Parker. Just absolutely incredible kid. So I'm very, very fortunate to have a boss like that. So
don't you? Fantastic. I'm laughing because 28-year-old Daniel is calling 20. How old is Pearson? 23, 24?
Yeah, but with caddying 28, you do it for 6 years. I feel like I'm 45. So
has it been?
You age quick, Bobby.
Yeah, I do. I just thought that was kind of funny.
That is awesome. Now, clearly, Pearson is pretty mature for his age, because he turned down a boatload of money to go to LIV Golf. Was that a conversation? Were you a part of that at all?
I knew. When I got the phone call about being in the picture working for him, his agent brought it up and said he wasn't going to do it just because of, Pearson, he's just so, his outlook on things it's just incredible. He doesn't care about the money. Like, he knows if he plays the way he's supposed to play, he will make that money. And he's even told me, like, even if I got that money, would it change who I am? No. I grew up wanting to play the PGA Tour. I grew up wanting to win PGA Tour events, to win majors. His grandfather won the Masters and stuff. So there's also that that part of it too. So yeah, I mean, I support, a lot of caddies are like, go live, 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 but I support whatever he wanted to do, and that's what it is, and it's working out so far. So yeah,
I mean, the
I think
kid's a
that's very
player.
cool.
What's up with all these kids out of UT? Texas is just absolutely spitting out just quality
factory.
golfer after
They're a
quality
factory.
golfer.
Yeah, they
Oof.
are.
That is a
Wow.
well, everything is bigger down in Dallas or Texas or wherever he's from.
Whatever.
So,
Yeah.
I mean it's all the same to me as a New Yorker. It's Texas is a big state. Now, as you're caddying for Pearson Coody, and you got a good situation there, how many bags have you been on since starting out? Any idea?
Well, I think me and my dad are very similar in the last 7 years, where we've had a few bags.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I can cuss on here, right? I kind of feel like
it's unfiltered. Fuck that.
yeah, I feel kind
it's
of like
recommended. It's recommended.
I feel like a little bit of a slut the last 7 years. So I would probably say total different bags at least 10. Honestly, bounced around a good bit. This summer, I went from Austin Smotherman to Jonas Blix, James Hahn, and then to Pearson.
We did hear from James.
And Davi Vanderwall. So that's
Dowie Yep. Dowie was in there for a couple weeks too. Yeah.
So,
that's funny, but that's great experience, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
dealing with different personalities and the different
yeah.
things that they want, it kind of gives you that experience quick.
Yeah. I mean, each player I've learned something more about myself and more about different styles of golf and mental side and all that. So everyone I've worked for, I can never say anything bad about, because they've taught me to be better at my job. So
I wish I could say that.
I wish I could too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a couple players where I'm like, yeah, you're like, you have the little bit of
I know.
You're just not that cool, But
they think they are, though. That's for sure.
Of course.
So Dan, I got a question for you. So I remember the whole Grayson Murray thing. You did 3 or 4 events for him. He played pretty good in those events, and then I think you went to Sam Ryder after that.
Yeah.
Was it Sam? You
Yeah.
did a stint with Sam Ryder, and then you came out here on the big tour. You've done quite a few big tour events, right?
Matt next?
Matt Every? Yeah, I think Matt, listen to this. I think Daniel's first PGA Tour event was actually the Players Championship
the most nervous I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I still
and we're paired with James. It's funny. We're paired with James Hahn too, and Mark Leishman, and it was just like I felt like the new kid at school, but
you were
million, like
right.
Because like I did a full year on the Korn Ferry tour, but the etiquette out there, I mean, no disrespect to Korn Ferry caddies, like there's a lot of good ones, but it's kind of the etiquette is just way different. And in that 1 week at the Players, it was a little bit of a culture shock, but in a great way. Those 2 caddies, I forget, Matty, is that Mark Leishman's caddy's name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It is Matty. Yeah, it is Matty.
He helped me out so much. And then now Tony Finau's caddy,
Mark Urbanik.
He was working for James Hahn. They couldn't have been any better and any more helpful. And yeah, it was
and if I'm not mistaken, you also did a little time with John Ha.
John Ha, I did. Yeah, 4 events with him. Yeah, and one playoff event with him.
And one playoff event. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So Grayson Murray, Sam Ryder, PGA Tour. Dad calls you about some young up and coming Korean from My Connection.
Complaining about it. I was
Rambertson. Were you?
Well, yeah, because I had to go to Exuma, and I didn't have much money, and I was breaking the bank, and I had no idea about this Asian, or about this Korean, I should say. Right. And I'll never forget the first practice round. He hit it everywhere. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. And I called you. I'm like, Dad, what is going on?
Who'd you set me up with?
Don't worry. And then we ended up winning. Like,
wow, crazy.
So
I'm assuming that's Sungjae.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
Sungjae.
yeah.
Now,
Sungjae.
did Sungjae push you in the back at all? Did he call you back caddy or anything like that? Because your dad got that royal treatment.
Oh no, I got it more from the parents. Well, I got it from him too. It's kind of all three of them. I'll never forget in Panama, it is blowing 30 miles an hour. We hit 15 greens, and I'm just getting worn out all around. All around. We missed cut because of you. We missed cut because of you. Like, and we ended up making a
I'm
cut.
sorry. That's
But
funny shit.
after the round, I'm like sitting down and I'm just spent. And the mom, I don't know if it was the mom or the dad, they come up to me and they go, Daniel, why no pin high today? And I look and it's 25 and there's all these flags. I go, no pin high, wind, 16 greens, good.
So Bobby, maybe it wasn't the wrong win when you called it. Maybe it was just payback for Daniel for the win that he had down there.
That's funny. Obviously, that it's the first time. The story with Sungjae is they really didn't know how good he was going to be. My agent Buddy Rambert teed me up to him, said he was going to be pretty good, but nobody knows he was life and death to get through first and second stage. He had to do some really great things the last 3 or 4 holes. But it's funny. The parents, even with my issues with him, the parents always, I think they probably matured too and saw what was going on with their kid, because they really had my back all the time when he was pulling shenanigans and the dad would see it. He'd run right up to the ropes and you know what I mean, and start yelling at the kids. So, but nobody knows you won the first Bahamas and then you got beat a shot in the second Bahamas, right?
Second, we go first, second, T30, T50, miscut, adios amigo.
Well, I don't think it was more adios amigo, because you remember Brian Branish was already lined up. Brian Branish was going to work for him, right? So Brian Branish, who ended up working for Sungjae, you know who Brian is, Matt. He worked for Siwoo, recently released from Siwoo, not recently, but the end of the year last year. So Brian was already teed up to go to work for him, but he was working for Bronte Law on the LPGA tour, and the money wasn't obviously enough for him to go down there without losing money. And he probably didn't know how fucking good Sungjae was at the time. And then after 5 events, they brought Brian back in. But
Jeff King.
Oh, Jeff King came in after that. Are you sure?
I would put my life on it.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right.
It was a bad moment in my life right there.
All right.
I thought I was a rock star.
Okay, Matt. You want to continue on, because I got some questions when we kind of wind down to the end.
Well, I just want to hit Daniel with a couple quickies. That
okay.
The first quickie is, what's your best caddying experience thus far? And you cannot say Pearson Coody in the last victory.
Well, I was going to be one of them. Just I'll leave off on that one though. But the best experience was winning with Davis in Panama. I didn't have the best year caddying, and my mom was very ill. Like, we didn't think she was gonna make it, and like about a month before, she got a liver transplant, and about a week before Panama, she finally started to talk again, and we ended up winning, and it was just, I don't know.
Wow,
that had to be a hell of an experience.
Yeah, it was the first person I called, and yeah, it was very, very heavy. It was just an emotional. A very, very emotional experience for me, but in the best way possible. So
okay,
yeah.
So we are going to transition from the best experience to your most embarrassing situation.
Yes. Botch number 18 in San Antonio on the third shot.
Oh, you remember details. I love this.
Well, who
were
Davis?
Who were you working for, Davis?
And we still ended up winning. It was the second round. And we started on the back nine, which made the cart ride to 1 even worse. It was the back right pin and laid up in the perfect layup. And I just did the numbers so fast, and I didn't go off the cover. And I went off of, like 24 on instead of the cover, and then 5. And he flags this wedge into the back bunker.
I know that bunker.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's dead.
Yeah, it's dead. Yeah, it's not good.
He ends up making bogey, and we're both going because in my mind, I'm thinking I gave the right number, and we're going at it on that whole cart ride to 1. And Well, I thought it was right and it wasn't, but I held my ground, and he actually ended up birding one and shot a couple under. And after the round, like we went over, because I'm the type of person, if there's something that happens out there, like we need to handle it, talk about it. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like we're two grown ass men. We're not just gonna let that. And I've fucked it, like I straight up fucked up. And I own it 100%, and I've never made that mistake again. And I know I'm not the only caddy that's ever done that. So
Here, I've done it. I've done it more than once.
I mean,
yeah.
I've had plenty of club
Yeah.
caddies that give me great distances. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well, you know, you get what you
paid
lasers.
For. They got their lasers. They go, it's 175. Yeah. I'm like, but how far is it to the bunker? No idea.
I remember that we ended up winning though. So that was.
I remember my first bad number was on that tour, was the web.com tour, and I was working for our great friend Daniel and his great friend Peter Thomas Sulo. Yes. And we were playing in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I'll never forget it. He got off to a great start. We were on number 8, and they had sprinkler heads, and they also had those Kirby markers, you know, like yellow, white, and red and everything. And somehow I landed on the white, and we were the TV group. They actually televised some at that time, and we're on the white, and I marched forward and did my math the wrong way, right? So instead of subtracting, I added, right? And I'll never forget, because the cameraman was up there behind the green, right? And the red light goes on, Matt. There's a red light that goes on when you know you're live. So same thing. Pete, he flags it. He's staring right at it. And I'll never forget, this fucking cameraman's like watching it, and he goes like this until the camera can't go any fucking further, right? All the way up over his head, you know. 20 yards over the green, and there's a hedge, and it's out of bounds. Now we got to come back and do the whole thing. And he looks at me, and I'm like, I think I just fucked that number up, is what I said to him. And he goes, he didn't say a fucking goddamn thing. He redrops, and ends up making double bogey. But we walk to the next tee, and it is the loneliest feeling in the world being a caddy, when you know you fucked up a guy's number, especially when they're fucking posing on something. And Pete ran hot back in those days, huh, Dan? Pete had very bad temper, and he took a lot of stuff out on himself. And I remember walking to that tee, and I go, Pete, I am so fucking embarrassed, but the fact is that I fucked up that number, and I explained myself and that kind of stuff. And I'll never forget, we got to that tee, he put his arm around me, and he goes, can I say one thing? And I go, yeah, what do you got? Say something that's going to make me smile. He was like talking me off the ledge. And he goes, I don't understand how you can fuck something up, and I think it's not that big deal. It's not the end of the world, but yet I hit a bad shot and I just beat the shit out of myself. So that was absolutely the perfect thing to say to me to get me back settled down. And I'll never forget the second worst one I ever did was for Kyle Stanley at Sony, like 7 or 8 years ago. My second stint with Kyle Stanley, who's like family too, right? He's like a brother to me. And we were playing with Dirt McGirt. I'll never forget it. And I did the same thing. You know what I mean? I fucking didn't slow down. I know what you mean by going 100 miles an hour. Kyle was playing fucking good. It was the first year they redid that green at 17 at Sony, and I did my math backwards. And he didn't even hit this thing solid. It sounded skanky. It fucking airmails the green into the back bunker on a big downslope, fucking dead, right?
That is dead.
And he's like, and he looks at me and he goes, how's that fucking happen? I didn't even fucking hit that good. And I didn't even know at the time that I fucked the number up, right? And I'm like, you know, I don't have an answer for you, but, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I need to get away from him right now, which is the cardinal sin. Caddies will tell you, Matt, is if you talk to any players, and I've talked to numerous players out here, when things are going good, caddies are always right next to them, enjoying the moment and that kind of stuff. But the one pet peeve I found out a long time ago is that when things are going bad, when you fucking get away from them, it's sending a bad message. That's when they need you the most, is to stay fucking close to them and don't feel like they feel alone out there. They feel totally alone.
You've taught me that too. Like I rather go down swinging and say something than the easiest thing to do is to say nothing.
Yeah.
And they're not paying you to just say nothing.
Exactly. You know? Make them feel, they already feel bad. So anyways, he airmails it in this back bunker. He somehow gets there with bogey. And I don't even know I fucked the number up, but we finished the round. We go to the putt. He's like, hey, I'm going to go hit some putts. And he goes, hey, Bob. And Kyle doesn't talk loud. He's like, hey, Bob, explain to me. I've been playing golf at a high level for a long time. Explain to me how I miss a number by 30 yards. So I'm like going over the book and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I just shook my head. He goes, what? I go, I go, Kyle, I fucked that number up. I did it backwards and that kind of stuff. And same thing, puts his arm around me and he's like, hey man, he goes, there's a lot of caddies out here that would have fought with me tooth and nail saying that I didn't know what I was talking about and they were right. But I appreciate you being honest with me about that. So off track a little bit, Matt, as I always get, but just sharing a little insight.
Great little
to
golden nugget, Bobby.
Yeah,
golden nugget. Just own your shit. Own your shit.
We all do it. All caddies. Any caddy who's been caddying for a long amount of time, or even a short or medium amount of time, fucks a number up sooner or later. And that's why I'm a firm believer that I like it when the player and the caddy both do the numbers together, right? You're always going to be within a yard or 2 yards of each other, but when one guy's off and the other guy's really off, it's like, slow down. Who's wrong here? I catch Troy doing it. Sometimes he catches me doing it. Sometimes it's funny. It happens to me most like the first tournament back. Like God didn't give me much, but I can do fucking quick math in my head. I think it's repetition, right? I've been doing it for fucking so long, and I count weird. I go by tens and then singles. You know what I mean?
High school graduate.
Yeah, high school graduate, life and death. Had to cheat. But you know, if I got 37 front, my brain goes like 37, 47, and 7 is 54, right? That's how my brain works and adds things up. So I do like when caddies and players both do it. And I've worked for players before that don't like doing yardage, and I always go, are you sure you don't want to, do that? So anyways, that would be my preference. And I'm glad that Troy does it, because we catch each other all the time and we giggle about it. We laugh about it. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God I caught you, or vice versa. So anyways, back to Daniel's wonderful resume.
Well, I want to know one last thing here.
What?
Before you kind of jump into some of your other questions for Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's the best advice you've gotten from Mr. Bobby Brown? And I'm not talking about the artist.
Yeah.
Best advice. I don't know if it's advice, but I'm one to be really hard on myself, like extremely, extremely hard on myself. And I wouldn't say it's advice. It's just more of my dad telling me I need to give myself more credit than I actually give myself, like, because caddying, it's not rocket science, like it's not. Some caddies try to act like, oh, they're running the show, when it's about the player.
Excuse me.
Like, it's always about the player. And I don't know, just him having this belief and confidence in me. And it's not really advice, or like I just said, when shit's going sideways, to be quiet. Like, don't be quiet. Like, even me at my mediocre playing, if I had a caddy and I was playing like shit, I wouldn't want him to be moping and quiet. I would want him to be like, hey, let's get our fucking heads out of our ass. Let's start playing some golf. Shit like that, So
That sounds a little bit like Bobby Brown right there.
Well,
TB12 talk, a little Nick Saban. And I do wonder, did that motivational speech, because a couple episodes ago, Bobby did drop that he gave you the whole motivation. Yeah, the man in the arena.
I love
the
that
entire
one.
chat.
I love
by the way, I'm not gonna lie.
Ted Lasso one. I've heard the Ted Lasso one a ton of times too.
He did say that, and then all of a sudden you go on and win like a week or two later. So
I don't want to sound like a douche, but in no way in that win was I thinking about man in the arena. No. I mean, I don't want to sound like a douche, but I have done it 4 times previously. I kind of know what's going on now.
I like it.
Level. I'm always learning, but
that was the perfect answer.
In 16,
I will say that I will say this, Matt, was Daniel's first. Daniel is hard on himself, extraordinarily hard on himself. But I think all caddies, and I'm going to classify Dan as a great caddy. All great caddies are hard on themselves, right? They take you. It's not easy to take your work not home with you in this job as you're sitting in a hotel room or you're drinking a beer or whatever you're doing, because you're constantly critiquing yourself, right, Dan? You're always critiquing yourself. Yeah. Should I have said this? Should I have said that? Should I have gotten out of there? I knew that putt was going to go left. Should I have got in his grill when he told me it was going right? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I've gotten in a good habit of not doing, like, I have a life besides golf. Like, I love music. I grew up not around, like, I traveled with my dad, but I grew up skateboarding, snowboarding, all this stuff, like I have a life outside of golf. So when I'm off the golf course, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. You know what I mean? And unless I'm sitting with people that are like that and they want to talk about their round, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like, just fucking, it already happened, whatever. You get 30 minutes after the round if you want to talk about it. After that, let's talk about anything. Let's talk about pussy. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Anything.
Do you remember those G4 hats? I don't give a fuck what you shot today. Those were big. Somebody needs to come back out with that hat. Right? That's a great hat. Great message.
I will say the process of Daniel being a caddy. I remember his first, man, I really haven't had to say much to him the last few years. I feel like he doesn't really need me for advice anymore, honestly. But the first 2 or 3 years, I remember getting phone calls or texts every single night, like, Dad, this happened, or his coach talked shit to me, and how do I handle that?
That still gets under my skin. That type of
me too. Me too. I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. But I remember a scenario. I think you were working for your boy Max Grazerman, who was a good player at Duke. Max Grazerman is his name. You remember this name because I think he's going to be on. He's going to be on tour.
PGA Tour.
He should be on tour next year. He's already off to a good start. But I think you were playing in Chicago, last par 5, something about a 4-iron, and he should have hit a 4-iron or a 5-iron. And I remember you were super, super upset. And I don't remember what I told you, but I think the whole gist of the conversation was, like a player, if a caddy gives a nice direct answer, it channels positivity towards the player, and it commits that player to hitting a solid golf shot, right, Matt? Pretty much a solid golf shot when they're committed. Things go really wrong when they're not committed, or there's a little ho-hum or whatever. But for some reason, I remember that conversation. You were all torn up about a bad club, which ended up probably in a not so bad spot from the story that I remember. But
I ended up in the water, but
oh, it did. Well, that's not a good spot. Unless you're
a terrible spot, Bobby.
Yeah, I thought it was a bunker that you could get up and down.
Oh no, maybe it was. I don't know. It just wasn't the right club. Bottom line.
My point is I don't have Dan's on cruise control right now, Matt. You know what I mean? It's 6 years later. It's 5 wins. Ask me how many wins that I've had in the last 6 years since Dan started caddying.
I don't want to depress you, Bobby.
It's I've had plenty. I've had plenty of seconds, and I've had plenty of chances and that kind of stuff. But it is. I don't care if it's the Korn Ferry Tour or the Golden State Tour or the fucking Cactus Tour, as you know, Matt. It's golf. It's hard to win, and a lot of things have to go your way. And I don't really, honestly, this is the 10-year anniversary. This is 10 years since one of my guys has won a golf tournament. Wow. 10 fucking years, and I bust out.
That's a decade.
That's a fucking long time, Matt. I don't know how to define a decade, but it's a fucking too long of a time.
Decade is 10 years.
So, yeah, I know that, Matt. Thanks. I know that. But it's funny, the run that I had, starting with Eric Axley all the way through Dustin, when you get 8 quick ones, you think it's easy, right? And then now all of a sudden this is like, and I've had some fucking talent, some serious talent since Dustin. And it's just, that's how hard it is to win on this tour. That's for sure. So if anybody's wondering what the standings on the Korn Ferry /web.com tour are on wins, Daniel has 5 and I have 1. So, and hats off to you. Granted, I got lucky. I'm not in the same scenario as Daniel, as I'm sure he'll talk about. We'll talk about, good luck or bad luck, not coming up with a guy that you've helped get his card. But my thing was like fluky freaky, right, Matt? Like I did some time for a kid named Chris Nallen. I went to Tomasulo. Tomasulo won right off the bat. Looked like he was going to get his card that year. He didn't. I started the season with him the next year. He got off to a bad start. And then I got that phone call from Eric Axley. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. And then the second week on the bag, Eric Axley wins the Miracle of San Antonio, the Valero Texas Open. And when that happens to a younger, inexperienced caddy, and I wouldn't say I was young because I didn't start until I was into my 40s, which is different than everybody else. It's your stock goes up, right? Your caddy stock is always going up and going down, right? It's always going up and it's going down. And I made plenty of moves in my career that I made some great moves in my career. Most of them have been not lateral moves, and I made some a couple stupid moves in my career too.
Who hasn't, Bobby?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it happens to the best of us.
I got questions. Do you got more for Daniel? Because I got a couple good questions for the kid.
I just want to find out, why was Panama -3? And I didn't know that you won down there previously as well. So clearly you've got the magic down there in Panama. Yeah. So
back to back from him.
Why the 3 under? Just the wind, or what was going on? Take us
the
through
golf
it.
course is like, they've made it even longer. It already was a difficult golf course when Davis won there. I think we won by 1 at 11 under. But it's just a grind. It's long. It blows 20 to 25, and there's just not a lot of birdie holes, if that makes sense. Like, you're hitting it 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. And it's, no one talks about it, but making putts when it's windy is just as hard as hitting a golf shot.
I think it's harder.
Yeah,
I think actually making putts when it's windy.
Well said.
Like,
so
you can control a golf ball in the wind. You can't really control putts when all of a sudden you get a gust that comes across and moves that putt 3 inches.
It was probably one of the hardest rounds of golf I've ever had to caddy, where afterwards, like, even after we won, I couldn't even like process anything. I was just brain dead, because every single shot you're thinking like where you can fuck up, but just like the appropriate easiest shot just to have some sort of look, you know what I mean? So it was just, I liked where we were standing 5 behind. Like, obviously
that's a bold statement there, Daniel.
No, but at a golf course like that,
5 behind.
but that's the place where something like that can happen. Because I knew our first 7 or 6 holes, it was only going to be blowing 10, and the fucking leaders, it will be blowing 25. So that's why we were 3 under through 5 or 6, and then once you're there, then you can not coast, but it takes a little bit of pressure off, So,
and then you get that.
I don't mean like,
I almost dropped the dodgeball quote there. It's a bold strategy there, Cotton. I hope it works out for him.
I'm saying it. I told him after the round on Saturday, he made like a 30-40 footer, and I told him, I said, we're in a fucking good position.
Dude, that is confidence, and that's got to feed off to a guy like Pearson, who is younger. He's won out there, but you have a couple additional wins under your belt, and you've won there. So that's got to lead to him feeling pretty damn good about his spot. Gets that number in early in the clubhouse. And I do have to ask one other thing here, Bobby, before you jump into the rest, which is, I did see a little clip of on the driving range, and a gentleman named Sam Saunders. Some of you know him as Arnold Palmer's nephew.
Great guy.
And
Great guy.
enough, who's the first person he goes up and fucking shakes hands with? You. And then he skips the other caddy. He skips the other guy.
Oh, you want to know a good story? This is
now we're going.
Of Korn Ferry caddies. Yes. Mac Miser, I don't even care if I put him on blast, because I call these caddies summer camp caddies. So this fucking guy, we're all warming up. He's hitting 180-yard 3-woods of his player's club, his caddy.
What? That's
unheard of. Fact. And I looked at Pearson and I go, this is my fucking competition. Like, this is
that almost came through my nose.
Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like,
but oh wow. Dan, I got
3 woods. Sorry, Bob.
Could you imagine?
That's okay. That's okay.
My E9.
I got a couple golf. I got a few questions for you. But so you win in Panama 3 under, you win a 3-man playoff, your man fucking stones it to a foot, cleans it up. You go out early, you post before everybody else, you got to wait it out, right? So you guys won Maine in Pearson's last year, Pearson's 3rd or 4th start, right? And if I'm not mistaken, in Maine, he was running by the field. Did you not have a 7-shot lead at some point during that round in Maine? What was more pressure to you, the 7-shot lead? Did you have a 7-shot lead with 9 to go by any chance? What was more pressure, the 7-shot lead with 9 to go, or coming from behind? I think it's a pretty easy answer.
Bobby. We've talked about this.
I know what the answer is.
7-shot lead.
Yeah.
Way more pressure.
Because it's like, how can you fuck this up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You can find a way.
I was curious about that. Okay, question, that is a good question, because I've kind of been in that scenario before, and it's more like, fuck, what do you do? 7-shot lead, even with 9 to go, you're in no man's land. Ask Colin Markow about that. He could probably have some fucking really good answers. Or JJ Jakovac. Hi, JJ.
Super Caddie.
Yeah, Super Caddie. Daniel knows. Okay, here's I wouldn't call this lightning round. You ready for this, Daniel?
Yeah.
Pearson Coody or Davis Riley?
Pearson Coody.
Pearson Coody or Sungjae Im?
Pearson Coody.
Wow, this man is a fucking company man. Grayson Murray or Sam Ryder?
Sam Ryder.
Was he wearing joggers though when you were caddying for him?
No. Okay, people can say what they want about Sam, but I've had a lot of great nights with him, fun nights, and I think he's been totally cool to me.
He did ignore your dad in the locker room one time, and your dad holds a grudge.
Okay, you do know my dad's from California, so he is a little Cali soft like I am. So.
Yes, we got the Cali soft in.
Oh, Dan, touche. How'd you get that Sam Ryder bag, by the way, too? How did that work out? Was I a little help on that since I worked for Sam?
I think that was his name was Michael Creasy, but yeah, you're a part of that.
Dan's best friend is
Dan, by the way, I love joggers. I wasn't ripping on Sam Ryder. I actually appreciate it. I think he got better once he started wearing them.
Oh, dude, if that's what people are complaining about, they need to like focus on other things, honestly.
Okay,
you know what? He didn't wear them at the Waste Management Open. He'd just be like, he went just straight pants. He's like, I can't handle it.
Who cares? It's his style. It's his
style. Whatever. I love joggers. They're super comfortable. Have you worn a pair? They're fantastic.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Dan, one more question. Max Grazerman or Grayson Murray?
Max Grazerman. Get all this Grayson Murray thing, like
it's great. Well, because we both know how talented Grayson Murray is. He's a little bit of a disaster, but he's very talented. Okay, Max Grazerman or Sam Ryder? Ooh. I feel like I'm the eye doctor right here. Row one.
Okay, it depends. Grazerman's like my guys had wrist issues, so
gotcha.
That's a tough. I'm gonna go. Can I not go with that
tough one? Well, we're all talking about Max Grazer. I mean, nobody in the world knows him, knows who he is. But
first of all, he needs to get on the PGA Tour.
Right.
Right. You know,
right.
He's got all the talent, all the attitude, everything. You know, it's just a matter of him being fully
right.
So we're not going with Sam Ryder there, is what I'm hearing from you, Daniel.
We're
not going with Sam Ryder there.
I got a caddy question.
Sam hasn't won yet. I mean, Max hasn't won either. Sam's going to win this year, though, I think.
Oh, I also said that, and your dad trumped me on that, but your dad's been wrong a lot.
I think
I could see him win like John Deere. I could see him win John Deere, a golf course like that.
All right,
I'm gonna mark your words on that one. I'm gonna throw down a little penny wager with you.
Look at his track record there. I think it's pretty good.
He's playing some good golf right now too. I think he found something, Bobby.
Yeah.
Right. Worst temper of any golfer you've ever worked for before?
See, Matt doesn't count because it's like funny.
He doesn't. Matt doesn't count because he's good crazy, right? Because he's a friend.
Matt is like an older brother I never had.
This should be an easy answer for you. Worst temper of any golfer you've ever worked for.
I mean, by a landslide, Mount Everest, Davis Riley.
Okay, good.
Like, not even. I've never felt so. Right. No, actually,
Davis Riley.
Daniel King.
Oh yeah, he did a little time with Daniel Kang.
I quit. Oh my gosh!
Can you share the Adidas shirt story, the Adidas clothing story for our audience to say what a cunt Daniel Kang is? Go ahead.
I quit after 2 weeks, and she then phoned me 2 days later and asked me to send back all the Adidas clothes that I wore. I said I gladly will send them back dirty for you. And then I have one of my best friends, and college teammate. He works on the LPGA tour. He told me that she then told everyone on that tour, standard chick style, like that she fired me and yada yada yada, and it was
a breakup.
It was soap opera. It was like it's so lame.
Gotcha.
So I've never been belittled. I mean, Davis is pretty brutal, right? But Danielle is.
Well, let me ask you this question: Davis Riley off the golf course.
Amazing.
Scale of 1 to 10. 10? He's a 10?
I mean, no one's a 10. Like an 8? I don't know.
I've seen your girlfriends. I know that.
That's a Bobby Brown burn right there.
Except not that Panama, not that Colombian chick. I give you the thumbs up on her. Why did she not come home with you, Dan?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, why did she not come home with you? Hey, let's
get her
talk
a green card.
Dan's getting fidgety. I know he doesn't want to stay on this whole thing for
No,
an hour and
this has
a
actually
half.
been way more enjoyable than I could ever imagine.
Okay, Matt, I'm going to take your spot on this question.
Okay, go
Can I
ahead.
roll
You
into
got
this?
it. Absolutely.
Dan, what was your? I know what my personal reaction was. You knew the whole Davis Riley thing was coming to an end, right? You knew it. You told me for a long time, Dad, this is not going to last. Things aren't good. I got well. Your quote to always is, "I got that feeling." Right? Caddies get that feeling when they know something's coming to an end. But what was your reaction when Davis Riley lose to my then moved to my then best friend
Ooh.
Lance Bennett, who we've had on the
We
show?
got quotation marks, by the way. So for all the
The thing,
podcast listeners, Bobby is giving quotation marks when he says.
I think it was
best friend.
harder. I mean, it was definitely probably one of the lowest points of caddying. It was during like a 3-week break. I sound like such a pussy, but like I could barely get out of bed because it's like you
It's
work so
devastating.
hard, you do all this stuff, and you just completely get boned. But the fact that it was Lance, I try to look at it as he has a family. He has a
Good
family.
answer.
He has kids, he has a wife, he has, and he wasn't, I don't know who he was working for before, but he was on a tough stretch, I think, for a couple years. What I didn't like about it is that everyone knew besides me. And this is something that's gotten lost in caddying, I feel like. I grew up where caddies had each other's backs. There was loyalty, there was this and that. It's just all about business. No one gives a fuck about each other. I don't know, it's completely different than from when I was growing up. So it hurt that all these people knew and didn't have the balls to tell me, didn't care about me.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's what sucked about it. But
Right.
I
Just
have
think
any
about
hard.
Scottie. Scottie didn't know in that movie.
Scotty McGinnis.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Scotty
No.
McGinnis
Oh
and
You
Scotty
know
no.
that
Scheffler.
song, Scottie doesn't know. Scottie
No,
doesn't know. No,
You lost me on
I
that.
don't know. Oh,
no, it's a good
Bobby.
movie.
We got to bring you back into pop culture here, Bobby.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
worry.
I'm a
But
little
no,
old for that.
my dad was way more heated, and
I
this
was
is
fucking
annoying,
bent.
is that Lance would, because he was working the last 4 Korn Ferry events, he would come up to me and be like, "Your dad's so mad at me." You know how he talks. Like, why
Yeah.
won't he talk to me? I'm like, dude, I'm not my dad. Like, I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. Like, I'm not
Well,
him.
I mean,
Like,
I think it's pretty obvious. You're my son. You know, you're my son. You're my first son. You know, you're my favorite son. I don't want to say that in front of Riker and Pat and your little brothers, but for sure, you're my favorite
you
son
can't play
because
favorites.
no, you can't play favorites, but I just did. Because number one is number one, and I'm super stoked. I'm super proud of all your grinding through all these years and that kind of stuff. But it was hard on me, Matt, because I'll tell you why it's hard on me, and I've shared this story like on a daily basis. You know, I've been sharing that story this week because Lance Bennett just got fired from Davis Riley on Monday,
Ooh,
right?
dropped it.
So it happens. He's off form. He's off form. There are a lot of people
Better
on
not.
that
You
team.
better not step on my toes again, because I'll throw
Yeah.
hands.
Okay. Okay, tough guy. Anyways,
Seriously.
it's funny. I've been
Uh-oh, looks like your
Oh,
dad
there
has frozen for a second, which this happens from
yeah,
time to
all the
time
time.
when he's at sketchy hotels or motels, I should say, and sharing rooms with other caddies. This happens. So he might even drop off here for a second. By the way, for our audience members, that movie is Euro Trip with Scottie
Yeah,
Doesn't Know. Matt
yeah.
Damon had the famous line about Scottie doesn't know. So Scottie knows how you're feeling here, Daniel. And
Yeah.
we had Lance on, and your dad put him on the spot on the podcast.
Good.
He asked him specifically about how could you take Davis Riley from my son, and you could
they
tell
were
that your
rooming
dad's still
together
bitter
too.
about
That's
it.
the thing, is they were rooming together like for
They were
years.
best friends. I mean, he put it in quotation marks.
Dude, it's like I said, it's just different, the caddy environment than what it was from when I was growing up. Like, that's why I respect, like, who works for Harris English. Like, he's one of my idols. HD, that works for Tom Hoagie. Like, those are like OG caddies. They get it, and there's some that, I don't know, it's just different, and that's fine. The world's changing. You either adapt or you don't, and I'm just gonna stick with what I'm doing. And I'm
You're
not
doing
gonna
a hell of a
backstab
job.
anyone. Like, I've never done that. That's not my style. But yeah, it is what it is. So
you know what,
I'm happy where I'm at now.
With everything that goes on, with all of those challenges, which some people would take as losses. I know I beat myself up whenever something doesn't go my way, right? And I'm kind of a perfectionist in that regard, to where I beat myself up over it. I would have been like, yeah, I would have been devastated in bed, not wanting to leave the room. I mean, shoot, I almost did that after a par 3 course a couple weeks ago. But that being said, when you look at where it got you now and the journey, and that experience is something people can't take away from you. And for you to now all of a sudden prove yourself yet again with another guy, I mean, this has to be to the point to where, I mean, when you got guys like Sam Saunders coming up to you who have been around for such a long period of time, going back and forth between the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour, you know, and he's bumping you up, and then you skipping other caddies out there, you know, you got something going on here, Daniel.
People know it's different now. The last 2 years, and I was gonna bring it up in front of my dad, but he's obviously lost.
He'll hear it tomorrow. He listens to this.
But it's the first several years, it was very tough living in my dad's shadow in a way, you know, because everyone would think, no matter how much I knew or how well it's, oh, Bobby Brownson. The number one thing that motivates me is I want people to go up to my dad and be like, oh, so you're Daniel's dad. You know what I mean? That's like something that like drive my own competitiveness, you know, because I mean, my dad's my dad. I love him to death, but we are two different people, you know, at the end of the day. And that's not a rag on him at all, but that's the fact. And I think people the last several years realize, okay, Daniel's not, it's not, oh, Bobby Brown's son, it's Daniel, a decent caddy. Or is I
wouldn't go there. I'm putting you into the Korn Ferry Caddy Hall of Fame already.
Caddying, once you think you're great, then you've lost the plot.
Oh, there you go.
You know, then you become one of the Instagram caddies, and one of that, like, if you see my social media.
Oh, you are like your dad. He can't stand the guys that are all over social media doing all the funny videos and so forth, like Teddy and you got.
That's not my style. I am who I am. I'm a Southern California kid who did everything but play golf, but I know a little bit about the game, and I know how to caddy, and I love what I do, and not many people get to say that. So
no, they definitely don't. And here's the key. I mean, the recap that I get from this is that you weren't as, I guess you could say, bent out of shape as your dad was with the whole Davis Riley situation.
It was, but what, you know, it's funny. People focus on like getting super mad, like that's more energy. It takes more energy to get mad than just to be, you know what, fuck you. I'm gonna work harder. And you know, and what I did after that, when I knew I got fired, I had offers from players that were locked up, but I went to work for a guy that was out looking in, Austin Smotherman, and I got him through. I was more bent out about Austin Smotherman letting me go in front of the clubhouse around 1,000 players and caddies in Puerto Rico than the Davis Riley thing.
Wow.
Because now that's soft. That's a soft move right there.
I'm back.
You are back.
What the hell?
Well, I
went on my one rant about Austin Smotherman, and that was it.
I missed it. God damn it. I kind of picked up the end of it. I am so sorry to everybody, but my internet went out this goddamn hotel, and
I gotta be honest with you, Bobby. I don't know if we missed you.
You probably did.
Great time.
You got your next host coming up here in a few years anyways. So
yeah, I don't know if I can do that. I will say this will be my one and only podcast.
Everybody says that, Dan, until it's over with, and they're like, about a month goes down the road.
Hey, Caddie Network has asked me a few times, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, good man. Stay away from that.
Golf first. Here we go.
Only you guys. The OGs. Yeah. Only you guys.
Yeah. We keep it real out here with Pull Hook Golf.
Yeah. Where were we?
Well, Bobby, we wrapped up the Davis Riley scenario. We recapped that to where we know that you were more bent out of shape than Daniel was.
I was.
And
I was pissed.
With that, we also went into the Austin Smotherman situation. And that's where we left it, Bobby. I mean, What other questions do you have? I mean,
I
that
don't
pretty much
really.
wraps that up.
Are you going to be okay to watch the boys on Friday? Babysit your brothers?
Yes, absolutely. But Friday night, I am absolutely getting destroyed.
Well, yeah.
Like a
Okay. Of course you
28-year-old
are.
should do.
Yes, but
Absolutely.
absolutely.
What do you think? You
Don't you
get
love how
it.
You got
he
to your
always said that.
mid-30s, man. You're solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I'll
Believe
find
me.
my chick when I'm 33, 34. I'm
I
a little
found mine when I was 35. So yeah,
you
that's
get
right on the
it.
money.
Yeah. So yeah.
Dan, I just wanted to say, well, I don't want to tell you Happy Valentine's Day or how much I love you because you know that, but I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you and your work ethic and everything that you've turned out to be and that kind of stuff. And I know it hasn't been easy for you. And I know there's a lot of head scratchers when you help somebody get to the promised land and you just get bulldozed over and that kind of stuff. But goddamn if I don't think there's fucking great things in store for you in the future. And I've said it for years when things aren't going good. This is all part of the master plan. This is the way it's supposed to be. It is going to just make you that much better in the long run. And I'm super proud of you, Dan. Every day I'm super proud of you.
There's not one opinion
tear.
that matters most to me than yours. So
okay, all right.
Well, we'll get done with all the heartfelt
sobby stuff.
I mean, I'm feeling it, guys. I'm almost about to drop a tear.
Yeah, we can all cry together if you want. You know,
I think we should have a moment. A Valentine's Day piece is just a silent moment for everybody just to digest what just fucking happened, Bobby.
I'm about to go to the strip club.
Well,
no kidding.
You never get to tell your kids. You never get to tell your kids how much you care about them and that kind of stuff. And I care about this young man quite a bit because this young man's never done anybody wrong in his life, and I don't think all these wins and all this success is coincidence. I'm a firm believer in good things happen to good people. So there you go.
That's what I will also say. This is that Bobby did say, and he didn't bring it up on air, but he goes, Matt, I'm going to bring Daniel on when he's got that victory. He's going to win.
When I was like, all right. Then 2 weeks later, it happened.
Yeah. Well, he's been telling me that for about 6 months now. So I'm like, geez, that's some confidence, man. That, Korn Ferry's not easy to win. And certainly, I mean, no matter what level that you're at, whether Korn Ferry or PGA Tour, I mean, you got to be able to play some golf in order to win these golf tournaments. I mean, there are some absolute sticks. There's even sticks out on the mini tours, but most of those guys are just head cases like myself, which is why I'm a mini tour dropout. But with that said, if you want to hang around, Daniel, we'd love to have you. If you got to go, I totally get it. But we've got story time now, Bobby, to where it's... Bobby's week at the Phoenix Open was not a pleasant one.
I'll say, can I say one thing about the Phoenix Open? That was actually my caddy debut. What was it? Dad, remember on 16 where you dropped the bag?
Oh, wow. This is a great little story. I was working for, Dustin didn't play there very many times for obvious reasons, for his shenanigans in the bird's nest and a lot of things.
Everybody knows about those shenanigans in the bird's nest. If you're in the know, you know about those.
That was a Sunday, right, Dan? It was a Sunday. Dustin, we were playing with Ryan Moore. I do remember that. And I told Dustin sometime during the backside, we were all tied for 42nd or tied for 48th. I'm like, hey, man, I don't ask for a lot of favors. But when I walk off that 15th green, I want to hand this bag and this bib to Daniel and let Daniel get caddy on the 16th hole on a Sunday, in front of all those people and all that craziness. So I'm like, please hit the fucking green, Dustin. That's all I'm going to ask you. So Daniel was waiting there. It was all a pre-planned thing. He threw on the bib. He threw on the bag. Of course, Dustin hit it in the bunker, didn't he?
And it was the year after the PGA where, I don't want to bring it bad.
No, it was the first episode with Bobby when Bobby came on as a guest. I put it up in the background.
Of all places for him to hit it was the bunker, and the shit he got was unbelievable. It was
That's where Dan made his one-hole debut at 16. He came through the tunnel. He's like, "Yeah, that was pretty fucking cool. I want to do this for a long, long time." And then gave me the bag back. And then I think as much as Dustin's been great to me, and I've talked shit about him, and I don't agree with certain
he's done everything
things
for me. I have nothing bad about him.
Yeah, you don't. Of course,
I know you have your issues.
I think that was pretty. I think that was pretty cool of Dustin, and that's a side of Dustin that people don't see, the big-hearted side. I think he's changed quite a bit, so to speak, for obvious reasons. But
money will do that to you, Bobby.
Yeah,
especially
I mean, when you're worth
time
half
money.
$1 billion. Yeah, when you're
when
worth
you
a half
could rent
$1
a
billion.
yacht.
Yeah. Well, when you, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to leave it at that. Dan,
Yeah.
you want to hang out? We got about another hour to go. You want to call it quits, or you want to listen to this?
Does it begin
I
with
think I'm gonna head
Peruvian?
out. I got, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You're a ladies' man. We could tell. It's
Looking
that
at
mustache.
Is that a Kevin Costner Yellowstone jacket?
I think it might be.
No, it's Quicksilver. Hey, you can't. SoCal, bro.
Straight out of HB right there. Straight out of Huntington Beach
SoCal.
right there, man. That's my guy. He's probably wearing Vans. Dan, show up your shoes.
They're Americas. They're Americas.
Another legendary.
Are you a sneaker shoe guy like your dad?
No, you know what's funny? And I hate to bring him up because my dad doesn't like him that much. But what two Southern California kids get obsessed with Jordans? Like, I don't and that's you and Pat Perez.
Good old Patty Perez. You can't bring up your dad in the same statement.
You don't fucking bring that
I
up.
got it. Oh, I wish I could. No, I'm not gonna tell him.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
So anyway,
that motherfucker.
But I get it, Dad. You're from Inland Empire, Glendora, so it's a little different than on the coast. So that's probably what you got there. Jordan style.
Mine were all. I've always been a shoe head. You know that. I always like to look fresh in shoes and that kind of stuff. And my sneakerhead thing was just more of a get addicted to this addictive personality has to get addicted to something. Yeah, and the fucking cheddar and the cheddar
Hustler.
and the cheddar
Always.
that goes with it.
Hustling.
All right, go see your Betty. We love
all
you.
right, later. Hey,
go give some mustache rides. All right, there, Daniel.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
See you,
later.
Man.
See you, Dan.
Hey, appreciate you.
Bye. Peace. You think he knows he's got to press leave meeting? He does.
It does. He got it. Bobby, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for being able to get him on.
Hey man, I care about that kid more than I care about anything in this world. He's been through the ringer, and he just keeps fucking fighting and he's fucking resilient. And I don't need to say anybody that has kids knows exactly where I'm coming from. So onward and upward. Matt.
You know what? It's very similar to an entrepreneur is what I'm finding with caddies. You go through a lot of roller coaster moments in life. There's a lot of downturns, but man, does that lead to great experience.
Yeah.
And as long as you learn from those losses of losing bags and so forth, then you're going to only become better. And that's actually when you got bounced off there for a minute, we were talking about that. And I was telling Daniel that, listen, everything like losing the Davis Riley bag only made you that much better and ready, and experience is something nobody can take away from you. So all of a sudden you come back out, you win twice with another guy on the Korn Ferry tour. Like, you're ready, man. And that's a pretty cool scenario. But Bobby, we got to go back to the People's Open. I mean, you were the first round leader there for a little while. I was out there incognito. You had no fucking clue I was out there.
No, I saw you on 18. I knew that was you, but I wasn't in a bad mood, but I was kind of in a bad mood because we got to 3 under. And Matt, it was, as you know, you were out there. I think I've caddied, and I like that name, the People's Open. That's growing on me. So I'm not going to call it what it's supposed to be called, waste management, but it's the People's Open. I have done every single one of those, I think, since 2005 or 2006. And day one out there, was hour and 45-minute frost delay, number one. So that's 5 different warm-up sessions. And
Thank you for that text, by the way.
Yeah, no problem, man. I got your back. But it was the toughest conditions that I have ever seen at that golf tournament. Freezing cold, blowing 20, 25 all day long. It was absolutely brutal. Fuck yeah, they were firm. They were firm before that too. And they're almost frozen firm a little bit, if that makes any sense. They're almost a little bit frozen on top of it. So, but of course he got off to a fucking great start, and he's 3 under in those conditions. And I remember thinking to myself every single hole, I go, he always plays good when he gets off to a good start. He always plays good when he gets off to a good start. Where did everything change to me in my mind? Troy, if you're listening to this, because I didn't address it with you, but this is where everything changed for me in my mind, was we had just missed we were 3 under, and we just missed a short putt on 14 for par, right? Yep. We missed about a 4-footer for 14 for par on 14. And then he piped one pretty good into that when they had that tee up on 15. The setup crew was
perfect. Little tiny draw down the middle.
Yeah, down the middle, 230 front, right? 230 front on a tiny little upslope, right? So I'm like, we're waiting for the green to clear. There's a couple guys in the right rough, Jaeger, and
Vegas.
some commotion going on in Johnny Vegas, right? And 230 front. Yes, it's in off the left, but it's kind of like a flickering. You know, if it's a northeast wind, sometimes it's hurting a little bit and it's across and it's in. And I'm like, okay, fucking, we're going, right? I'm just thinking we're going 230 front. Who doesn't go 230 front? So he fucking lays it up, and it's funny. I wouldn't say we went at it a little bit, but I do numbers as you watched, and he does numbers, and we do it from 2 sprinkler heads to see if we can match up and get a common denominator.
Oh, I saw it firsthand.
Yeah,
I was about
he goes from the right,
20 feet away from
you. Yeah. So he goes from the right. I come from, and I'm like 230 front or whatever. And he's funny. He's like, oh, if it was only like 10 yards closer, and I was just, it's almost like my jaw dropped, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just don't, it's cold, it's into the wind and that kind of stuff. And that was a key to me right there, that he, fuck, how do I say this, man?
Didn't have the confidence. No, he didn't have the confidence. There was that little bit of doubt.
I don't care about that. I don't care about that, because I've worked for so many players, and it's fucking 2023 now, man. It's not fucking 2016 anymore. And he plays it safe. And I feel like he plays an overly safe game when he gets into contention. You know what I mean? I've never Siwoo, Sung Jae, Dustin. I mean, I can go through the whole crew. They're fucking going, right? And they're not afraid. And they're not afraid to go. But, I didn't oversell it or anything like that, because he was obviously afraid to go. But as a caddy, you're thinking, what's the worst thing that that's going to happen on that back pin, which, by the way, is the toughest pin to get a wedge close other than the top left pin, because long is no good there. And you try and land at 3 short when you lay up, but everybody lands at 10 short, and you got 35 feet coming uphill. So I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? You fucking rinse this thing and you drop it up as close as you possibly can to the hazard on line of sight, and you got a little 40-yard flipper, which is way easier to get to than a $1.07 or a $1.15. So he lays it up. I don't say shit. We talk about, we have 117 hole. We want to land at 114 with no spin, when he doesn't really spin it that much, but in on the left, and that green is sloped pretty severely, as you know, from back to front. And, next thing we know, we got a 35-footer that, he runs up there 3 feet and he misses that. So to me, that's when the whole fucking vibe changed right there, and then he hit a great shot on 16. You saw it too.
Hang on, go back to 15. You end up about 35, 40 feet away, and then he 3-putts.
Yeah. And then he 3-putts. So that's another bogey. Back-to-back bogeys. You're 1 under. It's no big deal. Hits a good one in there. But that's when everything changed to me. I just felt like he was putting, and I told his coaches, I feel like he does this sometimes where he puts it in. You can call it experience, and he's playing his own game. But from my point of view, I want him to go, right? I want him to keep the pedal. I want him to keep the pedal on the metal, because he wasn't playing that great. If you notice, he's running a lot of birdie putts by. Jesus Christ, he ran a birdie putt by on 9 from the back collar. He ran it by fucking 17 feet. You don't see a fucking tour player do that. And he buries it. So I know he's rolling the fucking pill, and then he hits a great shot in there on 16, as you saw, to like 12 feet, a vicious lip out on 16, doesn't get it up and down for birdie on 17, makes par. 18, he makes par. He flagged that one on 18, but it was just such a funky wind that he has 25 feet behind the hole. But it was a great looking golf shot. But to me, I don't even want to go into it. But that's when it all changed. I walk up the stairs, I see you, first time I'd ever saw you, and you could tell by the way I went like this. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
You did. And I'm like, oh fuck. Who's saying great round, Bobby Brown? Great round. Yeah. And like you're looking down, you're like, what the fuck is this guy on?
My guy just got to 3 under, and we finished at 1 under. I am not in a good mood, right? So on a day when 3 under was fucking really good, and 1 under was horrible. So hour and 45-minute frost delay. Of course, the afternoon gets going. The wind dies down. Everybody starts moving up and stacking up, and then let's just roll.
I think the leaders were at what, 5 under?
Yeah, they were. There was a couple of them. I think Nikki Taylor and somebody else. There was 3 guys at 5 under. The Canadians were playing some fucking golf. Adam Hadwind was right there. He was at 5 under too. And then just the fucking worst start you could ever have on Friday, right?
I got to ask you, because I'm right there. I am standing, and I tried to stay out of the way. I didn't want you to see me. I didn't want Troy to see me. I was standing with my buddy, and we were literally behind the sign. But I could see you from if I like peeked around the corner, and I saw you guys have a conversation on 10, which was your first hole on Friday. Yeah. Was that a conversation of a 3-wood versus a driver?
No, it was never three
Oh,
wood. The
okay.
conversation was I was telling him, listen, all the birdies, because I wake up in the morning at 7:30 in the morning and after tea time, and I'm watching PGA Tour live, and I'm watching certain holes that we're going to start on. So I know where all the birdies are being made from on 10 on that right pin, and they're not being made from the fairway, believe it or not. They're being made from guys pile driving it into the left rough and setting up that angle because it's a spinny spot over there. There's a spinny spot below it, and then there's a big kicker at pin high that can ship you right over the green, which is not horrible. So my spiel to him was, hey, I've seen all the birdies that I've seen this morning. Blow it over the corner of that bunker into the left rough, and you can hit a little scooter up there. You don't have to fly it all the way there. And he knew that already, and he just pushed it a little. He pushed it a little bit, but on Thursday he pushed it into the bunker, right? He fucking fatted it out of that bunker. It was horrible. But the reason why he fatted out of that bunker is because we had 80 yards the first day on the left pin, and he fucking boned it, and it fucking hit the back of the grandstand, the mesh there, and it fucking came back on the green. The crowd was going crazy to like 15 feet, and he hula hooped that one. So you knew he was going to fat this one.
Well, Jaeger did it.
Make bogey. Our discussion, Jaeger did it. He hit it into the stands over the big green monster. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I got a good one for you here. Hang on a second.
What?
So Jaeger hits that shot, right? And then he's calling for the official. The official goes over, and as he's walking away, he goes, "Just use your fucking head, guy."
Who? Jaeger said that to the official?
No. The official said it to Jaeger. Like, dude, this is a simple drop out of the fucking stand.
Because
use your head.
Yeah, I think those officials get pissed when it's easy route that we've all seen a million times.
Oh, he was pissed.
The fact is that players and caddies are now paranoid that they might do something wrong because of, they have cameras. I think there's a new thing on the PGA Tour trailer where they're watching you in the rules official thing, I think came out a couple of weeks ago, where they're watching you to make sure that you're doing the right thing. That reminds me of another story about cheating that I want to get into later that I found out something today that I saw last week. I'll bring that up later if you remind me. Yeah. So number 11, the toughest hole on the fucking golf course. And anybody that's been to TPC Scottsdale knows that those fucking disgusting ass coots live everywhere, and they shit everywhere, and they eat all the grass on the left side of 11 fairway, and they eat all the grass on the left side of 15 fairway. That's why you see so many drives going to the right rough on 11 on purpose, and on 15 they go into the right rough on purpose, right? Because guys know you're actually hitting to a half a fairway. So when we were warming up, though, we were talking about hitting 3-wood because we saw so many guys rinsing it on 11, on TV that morning. So we were talking about hitting 3-wood there. And of course, he just makes bogey on 10. And when the wind picks up and it's a different wind, it's now into our face, the opposite direction that day. And he's like, my deal is fucking hit it in the right rough on 11. Okay. Just hit it in the fucking trees. I've been over in those trees 87 fucking times. You find a way to not make a big number over there. You actually can get a shot, right? So the last thing I said to him, I'm like, yeah, I'm good with driver. Just hit it down the right cut line, and if it curves left and if it curves right or whatever, and he hits a little toe jammer in the fucking water, and it's just like, it's funny. I was with another caddy who was one of my best friends, Brett Waldman, who works for Jaeger, and caddies chat in between shots, and we're lagging behind him, and he like comes up to me and he's like looking at me, and I'm like, and I said it too, and I hope Troy doesn't. I don't know if Troy never watches this, but I'm gonna find out tomorrow if he does. But I'm like, can you just fucking hit it in the right rough? And Brett looked at me and he goes, Bob, he goes, don't be Lance. Because that would have been a Lance Bennett comment. He's like, he wasn't trying to hit there. And I'm like, that fucking thing started up left center and it fucking turned over, whatever, another bogey, right? And then we get
did it go in the water?
Yeah,
because I bounced as soon as 10 happens, right? Yeah. Then I see the drive on 11. Didn't know if it went in or not because you got those volunteers running over, and
they're dropping a flag of where the entry is, so you know where to drop. That's why they're running over. So we get to 12 too, and that's a back right sketchy pin, and we had just hit an 8-iron that flew 173 the day before straight down, and it was a flicker wind. It was left to right with a little help, then it was left to right, then it was left to right, then it would be a little help, and it's a 28 on pin, and I'm like, and I spoke first, which I probably shouldn't have. I'm like, I want to land this 15 or 16 short, and he goes, oh no, that's too close. And I'm like, no, actually it's not too close. That's where that kicker is, and it can funnel it to the hole. And he's like, no, I like landing something 5 or 6 on. So we watch these two guys that are hitting before us that Johnny Vegas is a club longer than us, right? And Jaeger's about a half a club longer than us. And he hits an 8-iron and sticks there 6 on, Troy's number or whatever. And, You know, he's like, I just like hitting a hard 8-iron. And I knew it was never going to, you know, it might have got lucky and got to 40 feet or 50 feet, but he pulls it in the left bunker and then you make bogey, and 13 you have to get, and we're fucking 3 over. And now all of a sudden we're 2 over, and you know the wind's not going to be blowing all day long. And it was just, you know,
and the
it wasn't a
momentum's
very
gone.
there was never was any momentum, and he wasn't making the putts that he had made before. And you know, he got off a good drive on 13 that kind of slipped right. It didn't get in the desert, but it got in the right first cut, and it came out. He had a hybrid, and it came out fucking squirrely and high off the face. Sometimes for all you amateur golfers out there, if you think a ball sitting in the first cut is like a fucking fairway, fucking don't kid yourself. It's not like a fucking fairway. It's nothing like a fairway, because when you sold that club and you're coming fucking down through, there's so much grass underneath that you were going to catch. I've seen it fucking 20 years, people. You fucking catch the top of the face and it comes out dead in the front bunker. It's a bad bunker shot, and you miss a duck birdie. You know, you miss a duck birdie. And from that point on, when things are steamrolling out of control, you know, nothing lands on the right number, right? You're always in between clubs. You're trying to guess what the wind's going to be doing at that point. And, you know, we knew we weren't going to finish that day. We knew we were teetering on the cut line. And then, you know, we were trying to finish as fast as we could, and we did not make birdie on 3. It's funny, we had an exchange on 3 too, where he hits it in the left bunker and it's kind of sitting down, but it's a hybrid number. And he's like, well, I got to go. Right. And I'm like, yeah, we got to go, because we got to try and make birdies now. And we're talking about, you know, number 3, that par 5, for people that don't know it, there's a waste area, desert area to the right, and then a dry desert area that runs all the way around the green. So we're talking about where the best place to miss is. And I'm like, I've seen this pin a million times. I'm sure he has too. And I'm like, the right bunker is fucking Yahtzee. And he's like, man, it's not that good. And I'm like, the right bunker is Yahtzee. It's like 90% you're going to get it up and down for birdie. You never know how it's going to come out of a bunker with a hybrid, but it came out a little skanky, right? But he did tell me, he's like, well, the left waist area, the desert area, isn't bad either. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's pebbles and there's rocks down there. And I said the same thing to Sungjae there 2 years ago, and I almost got fired on the fucking spot when he did hit it in that desert, and he fucking dumped it short. So anyways, didn't make birdie there. And then we got to 4, that pretty good par 3 with a super firm green. And I watch Jaeger in Vegas hit 8 irons over the green, and he's going to control a 7-iron. And I'm like, you know, it's one of those things where I didn't really agree. And I didn't really have the balls to go in for, I don't want to say the balls, but he sold me on how he's going to control it. And, you know, he caught a little gust over the green in the desert. It's a sick chip. I think we're 2 over at the time, right? He said it's a sick chip to like fucking 3 feet. And it's so funny. I've never seen the greens like that, but when we're rushing daylight later in the day to finish, to get as many holes in as you can, Matt, and that sun breaks through, you can see every fucking indentation and spike mark and everything in that fucking green. And I will tell you this, it's the one thing I don't think Troy Merritt will never take advantage of rules that will help him if he feels like he's doing the wrong thing, which I totally respect, right? But Jesus Christ, they changed that fucking putter rule where you can tap down fucking everything. You can tap down everything. And I've been watching guys fucking cheat since they changed that rule, where and Sungjae does it too, where they take that fucking putter and they go firm hard right in front of their ball, like there's a ball mark. And what they're doing, people, is they're making a little trough, right? A little trough where their ball's going to start on line, so it stays in line late in the day. So I'm just telling you, he doesn't play those shenanigan games. I don't want him to do shenanigans, but I can see every bump and every footprint on the fucking planet there, and he doesn't tap him down, and it hits something right off the bat and missed, and almost drove it out of bounds on the next hole, hit it to like 20 feet. Long story short, he pipes it down number fucking 6. He stuffs the 8-iron of the fucking day to about, I'm going to say 8 feet or 9 feet. So now the cut's going to be even, right? And we're what are we, 3-0? Yeah, we're 3 over at the time. 2?
Or no, you got to 2, didn't you?
Yeah, with that bogey on number 4 on the par 3, we got to 3. We actually fell back to 3 over, I think. And then so he stuffed that one. They blow the horn. He's like, I don't want to putt. And I'm like, thank God you said that, because caddies love fresh greens the next morning. So we go home that night, and we got to finish. We got to putt on 6. We got to play 7, 8, 9. We got to play him in 3 under, right? So he buries that putt, right? So you think there's hope, and then there's a shot. So there's a shot. And 7, 8, 9 are not easy holes. And we're the guinea pig on 7, and we hit too much club, and we hit to like 40 feet towards the back of the green. And he 2 putts that 80. fuck, you hit 8 irons. This is how hard it was playing. You usually hit 8 irons, 7 iron max into number 8, right into that kind of skinny long green. And we got to chip a 5 iron. He chips it to like 15 feet. We kind of underread it a little bit. It really snaps. And then 9, you try and hole it. And 9, this is what I'm telling you about a first cut. We had a fucking 160. Troy stock 6 iron flies 192 yards. Okay. We are in the left first cut. We got 163 and 14. We got 177. We're trying to land it about 7 short. We're trying to land at 70, right? So we're trying to hit a 6 iron. This 6 iron comes off the first cut. And I've always told him, I'm like, I feel like I have enough experience now to tell a 12-year tour player that when you're in the first cut like that, you got to hover it a little bit. You know what I mean? You can't soul it. You got to hover it a little bit and kind of try and sweep it a little bit, not really necessarily hit down on it, if it makes sense. That thing flew like 155 yards, and you got to make that shot. And we missed our 3rd cut in a row. And now we are here at Riviera. Of course, that he has had one good year out where he finished tied for 10th or tied for 11th. I think he was leading after a couple days. And we are trying to break out of a slump right now, Matt. Questions? Anyone questions?
Man,
questions?
There's a lot to digest there, Bobby.
Yeah, I will
say this. Do you know, or do you remember, you might have been too locked in, but on Thursday, there was one obnoxious guy, and it wasn't me.
On that par 5? On the par 5 next to me when we were waiting for the green to clear?
Yep, and all of a sudden, he starts chiming in, just screaming, and he goes to his buddy. This is what got me. So he goes to his buddy afterwards because everybody's kind of looking at this guy.
Was this the guy that was working me over a little bit from the sides, or was he ripped on Troy? Because I heard the one guy fucking with me about what club we were going to hit.
Yeah, are we talking about the same thing? That was the same guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's yelling. I mean, he didn't really he did say to Troy, "Who I don't even know who the fuck this guy is." And
I think that was Friday, actually, wasn't it? It was Friday.
Thursday. It was my first day out there.
Well, there's a bunch of fucking drunk asses out there. And you can't listen. The deal is, we all found out a long time ago, when you tell them to shut up or be quiet or quiet, please, they just fucking come in for more. And then they pile on you. It's fucking, it's horrible.
So you realize that by the time you got to the 14th hole, there was no more yelling, right?
What do you mean when we got to 14?
So you guys got to 14. This guy was all over you guys on 13. All over. I walked with you guys the entire way. Now, on 13 at the green, he's the guy who yelled, "Get in the hole!" from Troy's pot from fucking 60 feet away, right? So I walk up behind him because he's telling his buddy, he's like, "Man, this is what you got to do out here, like this is what the people want and whatever." So I go up to him, I tap him on the shoulder. He turns around and I go, "Hey, buddy, you want to be out here all day?" He's like, "Yeah, why?" I go, "Because you're either leaving or you're going to shut the fuck up."
Right.
And if you don't shut the fuck up, then you're going to have to go find somebody else to go rattle. I was like, these are my guys. You're not fucking with them. And he turned to me and goes, "What, man? What did I do wrong?" And literally at that moment, I just walked away. Walked away.
The golf is secondary, right? The golf tournament's not even the important thing to these people. They have no idea that we're playing for $20 million. He wasn't a golf
guy. Like, he was a guy who just wanted to go out there. He was hammered already.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
I thought you were talking about the yo-yo and his fucking drunk buddy that were, when we drove it down the fairway there on 15, when we did go for it, when we did hit 3-wood in the left bunker. Then I'm listening to these, they're like, "Caddie, is it 5-wood? Is 3-wood? What are you hitting?" They just nonstop, and it's like, you don't even want to make eye contact with them, and it's like, shut the fuck up. And then they're just talking shit. "This fucking Caddie's fucking dick. He's not talking to us." And it's like, oh my god, only here. And Troy's just smiling the whole time. And he's like, "Are you listening to this?" And I go, "Fucking of course I'm listening to this. Are you listening to this?" He goes, "I ain't looking over. You looking over?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not fucking looking over." And then we hit our shot into the left bunker where you're supposed to hit it if you miss the green there, and then they just start chirping. But every year just gets a little bit more out of control and out of control and out of control. But then
it starts creeping. It starts creeping into the back of the golf course, which normally that's where you can actually kind of lock in, get focused. And I will say this, but we always talk about this too. Is like when you get
You know, when you come off that tee on 10 and you start getting around 10 green and there's all those people there on 10 because it's an overflow of 16 and then everybody's walking down the left side of 11, you expect all that shit, that whole side, right? But the hardest part to finish is late on the daytime, way back in the corner on the front side when the fucking drunk asses at fucking 5:55 p.m. are stumbling, you know, taking selfies in the middle of the fairway. Their voices carry. You know, when there's 30,000 people around one hole, there's so much noise. It doesn't really affect these guys. It's the random guys when you get back there in that corner, like on 6T or even 13 or something like that, or 4 and 5 that are walking out by the Princess, by, you know, the Scottsdale Princess there, that are just fucking.
Good old Fairmont.
It was fucking, man. They had people they couldn't clear when we were trying to finish late. They couldn't clear 5 fairway because there are chicks out there taking fucking selfies in the middle of in the fairway. Everybody needs to know about the streaker, the fucking streaker, and the fucking thong shows up out there. It's funny. Where were we on when that happened? I think we were on 11 when that happened. And I heard somebody talking about a streaker. I didn't know what they were talking about because I actually saw one in a practice round on Tuesday about 12 years ago. This guy fucking dropped everything. I mean, completely fucking naked. And there's not very many people out there on Tuesday. And he's running down the middle of the fairway on 18. And I'm standing there with Eric Axley on the tee. And I go, the dude's fucking naked on a Tuesday, bro. And there's, you know, the average age of those cops out there is not very young. So they can't run very fast. And they're chasing this naked guy down. But I heard the streaker thing. And it wasn't until we finished that round late and I was driving into the official and I go, how was your day today? And he goes, you know, we got a fucking streaker out there. And I go, I heard something about that. Tell me what happened. He goes, this fucking guy dropped down to a fucking G string. He's all painted up, 19th hole on his back. And he busts into the middle of 16. I'm sure everybody's seen the video, right? He gets on the green. Nobody approaches him or tries to get him off. He's pole dancing, right? Isn't he pole dancing on 16? He makes his way to fucking 17, right? Runs all the way down 17 fairway, just short of the green. Here's the gross thing. They sprayed so many chemicals on the grass there. So people need to know when a PGA Tour event comes to town, the turf is usually in great shape. But the shape, when it's not in great shape, Matt, they spray paint this green chemicals and stuff on it, right? So we, on a practice round, we're looking in the left side of 17 on the pond over there. There's a fucking 180 dead fish floating on top. I mean, I don't know if you saw them or not, but they were on the right side of 12 too. It's just like waste management. Can we get somebody in here and clean up the fucking carcasses? This fucking streaker dives. Control, Bobby. I know. He dives into the dead fish fucking pond. Well,
that's reclaimed water. That is, that's not nasty shit.
I'm surprised his shillelagh hasn't fell off and is sleeping next to him in his pillow in that jail cell or whatever, that he's not losing body parts.
I got to give a shout out to Yancey, who works outside services at Mountain Shadows, because he came up with a great strategy. This Yancey, okay?
What is it?
He brought up the fact that if you mix like New York City with the big horses, that like if you touch it, it's a felony. And then you add in some Yellowstone characters, you got to lasso the fucker. Nobody wanted to touch him. So after he got past that first security guy, which was a volunteer like security guy on 16, the cops were just kind of like running alongside him, like just kind of let him go because they didn't want to touch him. So they kind of let him do his thing. And if there was a big horse and a guy lassoing, could you imagine just fucking and just getting him hog-tied, just fucking dragging him out of there? Would have been great.
That'd be awesome.
That's a great concept. Get some big horses out there. I'm blanking on the name. It's the Anheuser-Busch, those big, huge
Clydesdales.
Thank you. Yeah. They have them in New York City.
They got hoofs about that fucking big, so you probably don't want them on the golf course. They fucking tear everything up like a giant divot. But,
every good concept has a flaw, and that might be one. but that would be phenomenal.
All right, let me get to this. Scottie Scheffler, best player in the world. I mean, got it done. You know, he wins it again. They're all the big guys are up there, right? It's no $20 million purse. The cream rises to the top. It's no joke. It's no joke that Scottie Scheffler and Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy will trade off for a long time being the best player in the world. It's just going to be those three. And when they hit their little runs for 2 or 3 weeks, those guys when you're playing against them, they're fucking unbeatable. That's just the bottom line. Our guys are fucking awesome that they work for. They're some of the best players in the world, which goes to show you how freaky fucking good that these three guys are. Can I tell you something about Scottie Scheffler? We played in an 18-hole Pro-Am yesterday. We played in an 18-hole Pro-Am today. And do you know what Scottie Scheffler and Teddy were doing? They walked every fucking hole today with wedges and putters, and they're going around every green. And I'm like, see, I told Troy, I go, I didn't really need to say anything, but I was like, see, this is how it's done. This guy is on a fucking mission. I'm not, he played pretty good at Riviera last year. I think he finished 11 or 12 under. Joaquin Neiman ran away with it. He shot 19 under. He was 19 under after 3 days, which is phenomenal out here. But I was just so impressed by the dedication that, I just wish my guy had a little bit more of that, honestly, to tell you the truth. But he's not a 25-year-old super bomber with unbelievable hands and just a fantastic putter. And I don't know. It was kind of cool to see Scottie walking around. I got off the path there a little bit, but it was a great week. I mean, Jason Day had a fucking great week. Xander played
Jason Day. I love that he's playing good golf.
Remember, I have been calling that since
I do have to give you credit there.
Yeah, when I called that when it has nothing to do with me, but you just notice when some guys get a look in their eye and you follow around in a practice round, you're like, this dude is back. He's on a fucking mission. And that is fucking dedication. You realize we've been going for an hour and 30 minutes right now, don't you?
Bobby, we got a lot left, buddy.
We got to go through it fast. I got to go to work tomorrow, man. Where do you got now?
Well, we had Rickie Fowler. Big Dick Rick was in contention. That was fun to watch. I mean, Jason Day was gushing all over his game after the round. You got Sung Jae, who, by the way, is there a guy that loves the 16th hole more than Sung Jae? 3 under for the 4 days.
3 under. He's just
unbelievable.
So good. Yep, he's just so good, man.
And then, Bobby, who won the penny bet?
Oh, you motherfucker.
Wait. Did I get shit on last week from a guy named Bobby Brown? No, I for sure shit on you for good reason. Alex Noren fucking shit the bed and fucking missed the cut.
Yeah, I was taking a shot. My other guy, Saeed Nagala. Well, how'd Saeed play? He played pretty good. He played pretty good. I was going to take Cam Young too. He made me back in the pack, but at least he played on the weekend. But that was a bad pick on my part. That was a bad pick.
Well, I'm just saying, I gave you one. I got shitted on for picking Big Dick Rick, and I knew that is a good gambling strategy right there.
You said
Big Dick Rick, top 10.
You said you gave me a dock at Pebble Beach, so the reason why I took Noren was I didn't want you to be sad, so I gave you your dock back.
Well, you're back down to 6,000 pennies.
1,000 pennies. That is a lot of fucking pennies.
It's a lot of.
Did you want to talk about how bad that fucking TV coverage was last week? I noticed it. It was pathetic.
The funny
thing is,
other
guys
everybody is talking about it. So I've had 5 different individuals that are all different walks of life. Like none of them are part of the same crew that I interact with. And literally everybody's saying the same thing, that the coverage is horrible. You're only getting like popular guys, even if they're like out of contention. You're getting Jordan Spieth in there. You're getting, Scottie Scheffler was winning the tournament, but you're getting other guys that, are just popular and they're not even playing that great. Then you only have the top leaders. And if they're a bigger name, you're just going to see them pretty much the entire time. You've got a little tiny box in the bottom right-hand corner that literally is just the top 5 guys. They don't even show the leaderboards anymore.
Yeah, I know.
And you can't see anybody. So I was talking with my trainer about this because he trains Wyndham Clark. And Wyndham was up there.
Great player.
He said the same thing. He's like, Matt, I was watching the coverage. We were talking this morning. And he's like, I was watching it because he was in contention and there wasn't a single shot of him throughout the entire broadcast and coverage. Like, what is going on? And then they're not even showing the leaderboards. I would love it if they had the scrolling bar at the bottom that has like alphabetical order and shows at least the scores next to the name so I can know what the fuck is going on with the rest of the guys. How are you going to build up anybody but your top 5 or 10 guys in the world by doing this? It doesn't make any sense. The UFC is phenomenal with promotion. They promote up and coming guys, But the PGA Tour is horrible at this. And the broadcast does not help whatsoever. No. It is brutal. We need a scrolling leaderboard. We need to see more real golf shots, by the way, because all you're seeing are the top guys. You're seeing every once in a blue moon an awful golf shot or a bad break, but for the most part,
or a really good one, or somebody that hoops something.
They're just showing like long putts being made, awesome iron shots. Like, that's it. Like, I get that your entire brand and everything was around these guys are good, but like, that's long gone now. Like, let's actually see some golf. Let's see some of the guys that, you know, aren't the top guys in the world that are playing well. I would love to see some of that, and I'm still pushing for you and me, Bobby, to do a broadcast on Fridays once you retire, to where we could just cover the guys that are at the bottom of the leaderboard. You know, the if it's I mean, let's face it, some of the guys that are shooting 5-6 over, I really want to just get in there and, you know, throw some analysis.
I gotcha. Okay, so we're here at Riviera.
We are
for another big one. Right, another $20 million purse. Number 10. You know what we talk? The drivable par 4 the drivable par 4. You know what we call that out here? The easiest par 5 on the PGA Tour, because there's a lot of fucking 5s there, and there's a lot of 6s. Those trees, which would be on your microphone side, you always try and miss left in those trees. If you get right at the screen, you're fucking done. You're just done. You're life and death to make a par. You want to watch something fun is when you get these certain right pins and guys miss it in the right bunker, or they miss it right of the bunker. They actually chipped back to the front of the green, like they're playing it all over where their perfect drive would have gone. So course is in fucking phenomenal shape. The greens have started to firm up. The greens started to firm up today. I was noticing with my feet, we were all commenting on it. Tiger's back in the field, man. There's that electric buzz, things going down, all these fucking great players. Here we go again with another one. It's funny, we are not going to play. I was thinking this. We're not going to play Honda, which is next week. We're going to take that week off, and then we go into Bay Hill and the Players. So we have a $20 million purse this week. We're going to be playing for a $20 million purse in Bay Hill, and we're going to play for a $25 million purse at the Players Championship, which I told you, you know, around Torrey Pines, this is when all the big fellas start coming back, and we are just right in the middle of that. So this golf course behind you is, you know, I love Pebble Beach, but if you left out Augusta, if there is a second most iconic golf course to me, it's right there in Hogan's Alley. It doesn't get any better than that.
I love Riv. I was telling you.
How did Joaquin Niemann shoot 19? He was 19 under after fucking 3 rounds last year at this golf course. It was fucking unbelievable. So anyways, I'm super excited. I have no expectations this week. I watched him play 18 holes the last 2 days. He is not that sharp. We were actually keeping score. He would have grinded out a 1 under yesterday, and he would have grinded out an even par today, which probably would get you through to the weekend because it's going to toughen up. And I'm just looking forward to it. Anytime Tiger is here, it's a totally different event where there's going to be people beyond people out there. You have the best players in the world, and that's what I got from Riv.
I am pumped that Tiger's
weather's going to be
back.
fine. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a little bit windy, nothing major. That golf course gets, you know, once it gets to 3:01 p.m., it gets very cold out there. All that wind and that cold air comes off of the ocean there in Santa Monica. So, you know, you're mentally worn out after this week. You know, you were mentally worn out after a lot of golf tournaments, but this week almost feels, fuck, man, it feels like major when you get to this golf course, bro. It feels like fucking major. No
Bobby,
doubt.
what's the tip with the Kikoya? Or
well, what you mean as far as chipping goes?
Yeah, chipping. Isn't it true? Well, you can't really chip it into the fringe.
No. Well, so here's the deal. It's almost like Augusta, like number 3, the short hole at Augusta. Early in the morning when it's wet, you can kill it into the banks, and you can chip it short early in the morning, because you would think it's the opposite, that it would just bite, but it actually skids across the water. It skids across the grass. But when it starts getting in the afternoon, and I grew up with this kikuya, we called it Southern California kids called it crabgrass, because it looks like crabgrass growing everywhere. And you know, you can't bump anything. There's certain holes out there that you can't chase something up to, you know, like the famous, you know, 16's a famous par 3, 15's a beast par 4 that you're hitting a mid iron into. And anybody who says, I know, it's unbelievable. Anybody who says, oh, I'm going to run something up at Riviera, it doesn't happen, man. You don't run You don't run shit out. It tests every part of your game. It's a shot maker's golf course, right? It's like you go to Sony or La Quinta and they're fucking stock shots. Everything's high and land soft. Here you gotta here you gotta hit shots. I fucking had some good finishes here with Siwoo. I had some great finishes with Kokrak. I had a bunch of good finishes with Dustin, guys that came close to winning. My best memory here. Yeah, we played. So on Monday, it's interesting. They reserve a spot for a college player. So they have this college showcase play-in thing where there's 19 of the better college players that play in this pro-am with you on Monday. And we played with a young man. His name is Dylan McAllister. He's from Northern California. He is a sophomore. He's 19 years old. He's just a kid. He's a sophomore in Colorado. He's a good player. He just won the Notre Dame's big event. He destroyed the field at Notre Dame. And so these college players are playing, to get a spot. A kid from Texas Tech actually won in a playoff. He birdied that hole 10. Both of the players, I don't know who the other one was, they birdied 10. And then this kid, 11's a par 5. And then he hooped it from the fairway, laying up and made an eagle to get in. I don't know what this kid's name is from Texas Tech, but excuse me. My point is, I was talking with this kid because I used to his coach is a guy named Phil Dawson Jr., who I caddy for on the Canadian tour a little bit, and then now he's a really good teacher. And the kid asked me, he goes, all these years you've been caddying out here at Riviera and on tour with all these great players, what's the greatest round you've ever seen from any of your players? And it was a quick answer to me, and it was 2019 there with Siwoo on Sunday when we started the day 5 or 6 back of the lead, and it was blowing literally fucking 40, and he's chipping 3 irons in from two fucking stone cold 6 and 8 feet all day long. We ended up finishing third, got beat a couple shots, but I just have great memories around there. So I hope that continues. Troy barely missed the cut there last year, but we are in a slump right now, Matt. And when you are in a slump, you are jonesing to get out of a slump, and we are jonesing to get out of a slump right now. So, who are you picking? Let's get to the good shit.
You don't want to go first? Picking?
No, winner goes first. Stop changing the rules all the time, you son of a bitch.
You tried to flip it on me last week.
If you ain't trying.
You ready for this this little touch of class?
Yeah.
You're going to love this.
Oh, boy.
Adam Scott.
Well, of course. He loves this place. You ready for this? Cameron Young. Got beat a couple shots here last year as a rookie. I think he finished 17 under or something, T2 or T3, somewhere around there. But it is a bomber's track.
Damn, we have 2 good picks this week. There's no busting your balls. You didn't bust my balls.
No,
I should have gone
Cameron
with
Young.
Yeah, I should have done something a little bit more.
Can I sidetrack to something before I forget about it that has nothing to do with this?
Cheaters.
So yeah. So check this out. I'm not going to mention any fucking names. But before we came out and did that restart, we can't carry greens books around or anything like that. Our yardage books are pretty basic now. They're not very advantageous, which means players can't bring their buddies out to caddy anymore and get a good job done because the yardage books were high tech, and with the green books, you could have anybody caddy for you, right? So they outlawed these greens books. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm sitting at a table with players that with caddies that work for big time players before we restarted Saturday morning. And these caddies had players on the green that marked their ball on the green and they were going to hit their putt the next morning. I'm watching these fucking 3 caddies because you're allowed to carry a greens book. You're allowed to carry a greens book in the practice rounds, right? But you cannot document anything from that greens book over into your yardage book. You can't do slopes. You can't write anything. The only thing you can write on the greens, like I've been doing for years, is, this is a left or right putt. It moves 2 cups. But I saw that with my eyes, or I've seen other players hit that putt, right? I can't take it from any other outside influence. I'm watching these three big time caddies. They are looking at their greens book, at the putts that their player is going to face in the morning. And I fucking said something. I go, cheater, pumpkin eater, right? And the one caddy turns to me, and I'm pretty good friends with him, and he works for a fucking big time player who played good last week. And he goes, oh, no. It's all going to be up here and that kind of stuff. And I remember walking out of there going, what the fuck? These guys are fucking looking at what these putts do on a greens book ahead of time. Guess what? We are finishing our round today, and we all got a fucking email from the PGA Tour Rules Committee that said, we are going to remind you players and caddies that you cannot document anything in your book You know, you can't play any funny business or document anything in your book or use those greens books to your advantage. Anything you write down on those greens has to be something that you've seen your eye. And then I was talking to another caddy about that, and he brought up the name of a fucking caddy who is a big time fucking caddy with a big time fucking player who apparently, and I don't know if this is fact or not, this is secondhand caddy room gossip, said that this fucking caddy goes in on all the greens when the previous pins or when the pins come out, and he documents off of that greens book where he thinks the straight there, every hole has a straight putt somewhere, right, Matt? And he documents where the straight putt is, and he goes to read his greens with the player around that. So the fucking word's out that there's some shenanigans going out, because I think these officials, if they suspect somebody, they're going to start looking at caddies and players' yardage books just to make sure. And they said we reserve the right to look at anybody's yardage book. So hopefully everybody's going to tone it down. And I got off the path, but it just left such a bad taste in my mouth when I saw this table of caddies doing that. These are big time fucking caddies, bro. They are caddies that have worked for, I'm going to say it, major tour winners, recent major tour winners doing that shit. And anything to get an advantage, I'm all for, as long as it's within the rules. Okay, that's all I got to say. Wow,
Bobby, you're a straight and narrow guy, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm a fucking karma guy, man.
Some people go by, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, that's true. What's next? Guess what?
Well, let's skip the Netflix. Let's skip that because it comes out. So everybody,
Tuesday. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. We'll do that next Tuesday.
But I will say this: I watched the episode one last night. No bueno. No bueno. But I'll just say it. It's no bueno.
I feel like we've seen that already. I'm actually curious to see the Brooks episode, which is episode 2.
Do you know that I saw that Colt Knost and his whatever that douche is that fucking has a podcast with him? They call him Sleazy Man, the guy who thinks he's like a great golfer. When I went the annoying voice. Oh, golf. What do you think about this? They had Jordan Spieth and Rickie Fowler at this Monday Pro-Am that they put on called the Larry out there at Whisper Rock or something. And they asked Spieth, they were asking about the Netflix thing because the document, they had the private viewing last week at the tournament. And they asked Jordan, what was it like, blah, blah, blah. They're like, are you going to watch it? And he's like, I was just thinking about the day. And he's like, no, I don't think I have any interest watching it. I lived it. You know what I mean? I'm in it. I don't want to see it in there. Well, the first episode was about you. And he's like, well, yeah, of course I saw that one because we went to the premiere and everything like that. But they go, you're going to watch the next one. You know what Spieth said? He goes, the next one's about Brooks and Jenna. And do you hear what his answer was?
No.
He goes, do you really think I want to sit around and watch that for an hour? So that was almost like a little shot to Brooks and Jenna. So we'll stop on that and we'll go over the whole thing because it's not going to be episode by episode, right? It's like F1 where the whole...
Oh, they're dropping it tomorrow. So
yeah, the whole thing, right?
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, it's going to be on Netflix. People are going to do their binge watching. I'm going to try to get into that over the weekend. So yeah, we'll do a full analysis on all of that next week. Let's jump into LIV Golf.
Let's go on a little LIV Golf and call it because Bobby's got to get to work tomorrow morning
early. You are just getting a little sleepy.
I am. You saw those yawn. Whenever I go like this, folks, I'm yawning. I was
Bobby.
Up at 4 o'clock this morning.
It's past. Who was it, Bobby? Who was it?
All right, don't make me feel bad. You're not carrying around a fucking 60-pound bag out there.
No, I was.
Those
my
fucking
alarm
stairs
was
up there at
set for 6:30 in the morning, and I went to bed at 2. So, but
all right, what do you got
matter. All right, LIV Golf. Can we just get to a goddamn event already? Like this is driving me nuts. But it does raise a question, and I want to ask you because. You were around DJ. You saw the type of work ethic that went in to get to where he was at. And I just wonder, with these guys and these events taking so long to kind of get to, do you think they're putting in the same amount of work?
No.
Because the guaranteed money and everything?
No, of course. And we've talked about that. There's no way that they still have fire. When you get that kind of guaranteed money, there's no way they still have fire. How does fucking Brooks Koepka shoot fucking 10 over par in a fucking Asian Tour event, missed by a fucking mile?
It was 8 over, Bobby. You can't run.
I know. Caddy embellishment, Kip Henley line. Fuck off, Kip. Caddy embellishment. Yeah, it's caddy embellishment. I won 8 times on the tour. Fuck off, you liar. You won 5. Anyways, No, they're not fucking working. You know, Dustin, I got more scoop on Dustin throwing out his back there
Yeah,
from
true.
everybody. It was drinking on a boat, but it wasn't another player or caddy he was wrestling with. He fucking pissed a DJ off, and some
It was a
DJ on the
DJ?
fucking, it was a DJ,
It
another
was a
DJ
DJ
dropped
against a
DJ.
DJ.
Yeah. And I told this guy, I go, AJ wasn't around because AJ's a fucking fighter, right? That's half the reason I think like fucking Dustin fucking hired him. Brother, caddy, security guard. But these guys can't be ready. You know, they're dropping, you know, these teams. I found out some good info tonight. I was talking to James Hahn for a while. Tonight while we wrap up. And he was telling me some good stuff. So the deal is they're dropping 4 teams tomorrow. All these teams are not officially set yet, right? So they're going to drop 4 teams and their members tomorrow, and they're going to do it every single day. This is Norman's thing, right? It's Tiger's tournament. They had the big fight, and he's going to release all the names. But I hear that there are still a couple teams that are still not filled. And I'm going to give you a little bit of scoop. You know how I was telling you that Kevin Na team was trying to recruit a bunch of Koreans? Found out tonight that fucking there's a big beef going on because Danny Lee's in the field this week, and the word's out that Danny Lee is signing with LIV Golf after this week, and the PGA Tour got wind of this, and they're not happy, and they're trying to put the squeeze on him to WD this week since he's going to be signing a contract with LIV, and he's going to excuse me, he's going to Kevin Na's team. So that's the only player scoop that I really have. There's rumors. You know, I heard today from a buddy of mine that I'm actually staying with that's telling me that there's some talk that Aaron Wise is thinking about going, which will be interesting. He's a good young talent. You know, I just don't see it. I don't see it going much further than 2 years. As you know, I sent you that big LPGA star that seems to win a major all the time, Anna Nordquist. She was sponsored by Aramco. She put the kibosh on them, and she dropped them as a sponsor because she wants nothing to do with them whatsoever. So, you know, who knows? I don't see it going much longer, Matt, to tell you the truth.
Well, they can keep it going as long as they want. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but
it's a disaster over there.
You did mention you were talking to James Hahn. Did he mention anything about the no laying up issue that
no,
that podcast? He's got some beef on that.
You know, I didn't really pay attention to it, but we were talking about some stuff because maybe there's an outside chance that a guy like James Hahn could fit on Kevin Na's team, right? He's 41 or 42 years old. We were talking about this, and he was asking my opinion on what he should do. And I'm like, hey, if it stays around, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take some money. He goes, what do you think a guy like would be? They're not big. So the rumor is, unless you're like a big Cameron Young player, they're not paying any guarantees anymore or anything like that. So who knows? But I did, you know, he's like, well, where would I fit on something like that? And I'm like, James, you won on 2 big boy golf courses, and he's kind of a social media guy. People know who he is after the fucking dance.
He loves Twitter.
You know, he loves Twitter, and he's controversial, and people like controversy. So I think he would fit on Live Good. I'm not saying on Live Good. I'm not saying he's going to go or anything like that, but we were just random bullshitting. But I told him, I'm like, yeah, I hear you're in a beef with no laying up. He just chuckled. He didn't elaborate on that at all. So I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to have breakfast with him tomorrow morning at 9:00, and we're going to talk about a little bit more of that. And that's about it. That's about all I got. Well, one thing for sure, because you sent me some notes that, you know, Bryson's done with Cobra and he's testing with Ping. You know, they fired Bryson, right? They didn't renew his contract because he's such a fucking child, and they wanted nothing to do with him whatsoever, and they bent over backwards for him. So he's out the fucking side door like all of those LIV guys go as far as contracts go. They're not going to find shit unless your name's Peter Uihlein and your dad runs Steinmetz, right? True. So that's about it.
That's it.
That's it, Matt.
We wrapped up the marathon.
We wrapped up the marathon. 2 hours. God bless anybody that listens to this.
My God, you are a legend, Bobby, for going to this hour. And our audience, if you are still listening right now, God damn it, I applaud you, because that was a marathon. We could have done 2 episodes, but you can't let the people not have the People's Open recap. And you can't when the cat's coming back. And by the way, we had to bring Daniel on after that big win with Pearson. Yes. So can't wait for his third win to come up. And man, can't wait to see him on the PGA Tour. And like I said, if there's ever a pairing where it's Bobby Brown, Daniel Gregory, no matter where it is in the world, Guess who's going to be there? Matt
surprise guest coming on in the next couple of weeks. My man D Woo, Darren Woolard, who caddies for Taylor Montgomery,
there we
is
go.
coming on either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after that, and he'll share some insight. This is the legendary caddy I've been talking about from Shadow Creek, caddies for Phil Ivey and all those guys. Came out with Scott Pierce. He was with him for 10 years, little rundown, and now he's linked up with Taylor Montgomery. So I'm super stoked to have Darren come on and share his story about how he started and what it's like, all the good tour stuff. But I want to know what it's like caddying at Shadow Creek for these big gamblers and what kind of pressure he deals with. So we'll have the rundown on Riviera next week. We'll talk about these LIV teams that get dropped, the team members, and look forward to D Woo being on. Thanks, Matt.
Bobby, pleasure as always.
See you
Have
next
a great week,
buddy.
man. Good luck.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more